It's a different game around when you go to different countries. It's a totally different game. In Dubai, I didn't even know them folks don't care about if you driving a Lamborghini or nothing down through that motherfucker. Nigga, you can be driving the lowest number you got on the tags, the more money you got in Dubai. So you pull up in a Lamborghini with a long number on your tag, I mean, you ain't got shit. You pull up in a car with one the fender falling off the side of that motherfucker with a number 1, 2, or 5 on the tags or something. You got a lot of goddamn money. Show you got a lot of money. We be worried about a lot of too much dumb shit in America. Trying to compete with this and compete with that. That shit don't mean that. That shit don't be meaning nothing. So no. Really be looking stupid. Trying to compete with each other. I'm about to delete TikTok. Oh, I'm tired of these motherfucking bitches. These hoes be thinking a nigga be really thirsty. They think a nigga these other niggas. A nigga ain't no motherfucking fuck nigga. Thirsty like that. None but bitches be following me over there too. Bitch, she got all pictures on her page and her phone in front of her goddamn face. Stupid bitch. No. Here go Becky. with her tongue hanging out her goddamn mouth. Yeah, them folks don't be giving a fuck about what a nigga be having. Go somewhere looking like you just got all this goddamn money, but you're looking like a fool. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Love Jay, what's going on, man? Your ass stay up late night. Your ass be up in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Just been chilling. I gotta wait till some of this money hit my card so I can move around like I want to. And go handle some goddamn business. I gotta wait on my money though. Wait on my money, man. So it's a bunch of chilling. It's a bunch of motherfucking chilling. Gotta go back to 15 some shit here. Oh. Mm-hmm. Cause I'm tired of borrowing here and borrowing there. It's time to get my own, goddammit. The way this shit looking though, I'm gonna go back full-fledged my SSI on their ass. I ain't got time for this dumb shit. Especially fighting and looking for these goddamn jobs. I'm going straight up to Seattle and tell them to cut my motherfucking shit back on. I got the paperwork. I just gotta take the paperwork up there to holler at the goddamn people. And let the goddamn doctors fill out this and fill out that and tell them, so yup, He still got the same depression symptoms and all that good shit. God damn it. Yeah. They don't know how to pop it on the air. Give me my motherfucking money, man. Let me lay back. Fuck it. The truck and shit come on through, but fuck that shit. Like I said, I lived off SSI for a long time. Took care of my child and everything off that motherfucker. And it wasn't even high as it is now. It was Social Security retirement. Then they upgraded to disability. But it was a Social Security retirement because I retired early. I don't know why they changed it to goddamn disability. You know, when you work a whole lot and make a lot of money, you can retire early. And that's what I did. Like, fuck this shit. They told me how much money they had out of my Social Security. I said, give it here. How much I can get a month? Give it here. God damn it. Fuck this shit. Going on these goddamn jobs with these races and part-time ass shit. Work a few months and you're backfired again. God damn it. With this shit. Let me see what this nigga talking about. Mm-hmm. Cause like I said, really, I be hating to work for a motherfucker. Especially when you feel like you're a boss. I be hating to work for a motherfucker. Fuck all that shit. Modern day slavery. Some jobs will slave the shit out your ass and talk to you crazy. Like I said, word on my little cheese where I can move around a little bit on my own pockets. I can move around a little bit by. Like I said, my nigga, I wait on him, but I don't wait on no nigga. These niggas have playing the line and take too long. They want you to just wait on them, wait on them, wait on them. Then when you get in a comfortable situation, then they want to beg you to come and do something for them. God damn it, hell no. I'm comfortable. Nope. That dumbass nigga. One thing I know, that goddamn state gonna get your ass a motherfucking cheap ass apartment and some more shit. God damn it. You done cut a goddamn lie. Yeah, that head. Shit, head gonna stay extra warm. That motherfucking soul get cold. I said, damn. My hair grow back fast. There'll be something on that motherfucker. Just put just naked ball, boy. That boy, you gotta keep a do rag on this motherfucker. And then especially about this window right here too. That the air be shooting through this window. But it's kinda alright. I kinda like it. I think that hair had me hot too. Had me catching them headaches. Had my head hot. Shit. That motherfucking hair. That's one reason why I cut my goddamn dreads. When I used to have them hot ass fucking dreads all on my goddamn head. Now them bitches was hot. Hot and heavy, especially when you wet them motherfucking heavy ass motherfuckers. And you gotta dry them motherfuckers all the way out. They'll spoil on your ass. Nigga be thinking they getting out the tub and just patting their dreads up with a towel. You a goddamn lie. You gotta do a lot of patting. Them dreads spoil on your goddamn ass. Sour. Hair be stinking a motherfucker. Especially niggas be packing all that oil and shit in their dreads and shit, man. Her nigga hair be stinking dirty. That's why you gotta go to the beauty salon and let motherfucker clean them bitches real goddamn good. Them females, get them clean, wash them out, and put them up under the goddamn blow dryers and shit. hmm Yeah, my nigga, I don't know what he got going on. What today? Tuesday, Wednesday. Nigga, we started talking about some. You gonna do something this week and that week. Nigga don't be doing shit. Like I said, he ain't gotta do nothing. As long as I can pay my goddamn pay this goddamn shit off. Through his company, I'm good. Just keep paying for them goddamn like he sent me in for them goddamn drug tests. Like I said, I ain't gotta work for him. Just keep sending me in for drug tests. Send me in when I tell you I need to go in. Man, send me in this month. Every month, send me in for a drug test under your company. That's all I need. I don't need to drive for you. Shit. Because he kind of with the bullshit anyway. The line bullshit. Like I say, talking about, I'm going to have this done by the week. I'm going to get this done. Man, get the hell out of here. But sooner or later, I'm going to find another plug going to run up on him. Like I said, that nigga going to be sick. Like them Indians. Them Indians already were telling me they had somebody else. Cause I ain't got to do them is just searching. Nah, I find I'm just going to be searching like that. Searching real hard. Find one of them goddamn Indians and all them type motherfuckers. Man, who that nigga be thinking he is in Africa with them big ass glasses on this big ass head and big ass hat? Goddamn. I'm about to go run up and snatch his goddamn computer. What the money at, nigga? We won't hear no pros and cons about living in Burkina Faso and living in America. What a goddamn money is being made in Africa. And the pros and cons. God damn it, little Zay. This motherfucker. Goddamn head. I wasn't trying to cut it off. Like I said, I put that goddamn clip on that motherfucker guard. And it was over. I ain't just check it. It was a big guard, but that motherfucker must have been the goddamn. For one thing, I used them. That's some goddamn body clippers too. You gotta have the blades for every. They got blades for every part of your goddamn body. And I probably put the goddamn wrong blade on that son bitch. God damn it. And hit it. It wasn't. I hit it just a little bit. And I ain't like it. I just said, yeah, let me go ball. Let's start over. I'll find me some good old scap on the way. I'm trying to look at this dumb ass. Hey, they be having them what them goddamn African women there, they be having their ass on the internet with their titties out in there, goddamn thing. The Zulu. They had them Zulu women on her, they titties out in there, goddamn thing. I bet they say that's art. I get on this motherfucker with my dick and balls out. I'm gonna say it's art too. I'm gonna put some green shit. Put some green shit and some beads around my balls and all that shit. Goddamn. They be having YouTube got these Zulu women on her, they her titties out and shit. Them women got some fine ass women though. Them goddamn Zulu bitches. Having them motherfuckers, they goddamn titties, the nipples and everything. I don't know what they got going on over there in the Zulu land, but god damn it, I need to be over there. America actually freezing over. I need to be over there in the Zulu land.
There's this app, and it hooks right up to your television, and anything that I need to do, I can from here. This.
Did you know that the Pleistocene era was a really important time in Earth's history? It's when the last ice age happened, and glaciers covered a lot of the planet. This period of time lasted for about 2.6 million years, and ended around 11,700 years ago. What's even cooler is that modern humans, like us, had actually
It must
evolved
be getting
during this
cold
time,
outside, cause that
and
little
had
heat ain't
spread
doing
all
nothing
over
right now.
Earth before it ended.
It's doing something, but it ain't
There
doing
were
like what
also
it
some
used to
really
do.
fascinating animals that lived during the Pleistocene,
Crank that motherfucker
like
up and run
woolly
the batteries
mammoths
down.
and saber-toothed cats. Unfortunately, many of them went extinct at the end of this era. Earth has had some pretty wild weather patterns over the last 2.4 billion years. Although the planet is mostly ice-free, we now cycle in and out of freezing ice ages. During these glacial periods, temperatures drop, and huge areas of the planet get covered in ice. It all starts with a bit of snow, which then builds up over time. The ice reflects sunlight, making things even cooler. The result? Vast glaciers that slowly move toward the equator, changing the landscape as they go. And when the ice melts, sea levels rise again, and everything changes all over again. In total, there have been at least 5 ice ages so far. The first one was so intense that the whole planet turned into a huge snowball. Right now, we're actually in the middle of an ice age, but we're currently in a temporary warm spell that started around 11,000 years ago. These warm periods are called interglacials, and we're not quite sure how long they last. There are still massive ice sheets covering Antarctica and Greenland that hold 75% of Earth's fresh water. When these finally melt, it'll mark the end of the current ice age. Earth's temperature is affected by something called the Milankovitch cycles. Basically, the amount of heat we receive from the sun changes over years, decades, and millennia because of Earth's orbit, tilt, and axis angle. There are 3 different patterns to these cycles. The first is called eccentricity, which is all about the shape of our orbit. The second is obliquity, which has to do with the tilt of the Earth. And the third is precession, which is like a wobble as Earth spins. Depending on where we are in these cycles, we might experience colder or warmer temperatures. But other things, like the position of continents and the atmosphere, also play a role in our planet's fate. For example, our planet's orbit is not quite circular. It's actually a bit elongated, shaped almost like an egg. That means we're sometimes a little closer or farther from the sun, depending on the time of year. We call the point farthest away from the sun the apogee, and the closest point is the perigee. When we're at the apogee, we're moving away from the sun, but gravity eventually pulls us back toward it. This means our orbit changes a little each time, gradually shifting our position relative to
What
the
if the
sun.
apogee get
Don't
closer
worry,
to the
even
goddamn
though the
sun?
orbit changes over thousands of years, it doesn't have a big impact on our
And
day-to-day
then next thing you
lives.
know, we run right into the goddamn sun.
Changes in Earth's orbit can affect how much sunlight we get during the summer. This means that ice sheets in the northern hemisphere will melt less, and over time, they actually start to grow.
Or the
As
perigee
they
get too
grow,
far
they
away from the
reflect even
goddamn
more
sun.
sunlight, which makes the climate even cooler and spreads the ice even farther. This process can last for a really long time, like 10,000 to 20,000 years, and eventually it brings the planet into its next freezing season. As for the next ice
I'm
age,
going all my
scientists
hair
believe
in.
it might be postponed indefinitely. They found that our human interaction with the environment, like the use of fuels, could delay the next ice age by up to 100,000 years. Earth's past ice ages were linked to the amount of solar radiation and carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere. And this research can even help us predict future cycles.
That's why we need to keep doing this shit.
It's
Cause
amazing
emissions
to
and all
think
that
that
shit,
our
global
actions
warming.
now could affect Earth's future
hmm
for thousands of years to come.
So we
And
won't
while it's
freeze
not really
over.
important when the next ice age begins, it's pretty cool to know that humans have the power to shape the future on a geological timescale. Ice ages have had a huge impact on our planet and human
Shit, these
civilization.
folks want to see us in
So
the
it's
ice age
fascinating to
again.
think how our
God damn it.
actions now might change things, maybe even for the better. What did life look like on our planet during the last ice age, though? Well, North America, for instance, was home to some huge creatures. Mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths, and mastodons were just a few of them. And get this, even Europe had an 11-foot tall flightless bird that weighed almost as much as a polar bear. Meanwhile, down under in Australia, there was a giant lizard that lived in all sorts of habitats during the same time period. Even though some animals from the Pleistocene era aren't around anymore, you might recognize many of those that are still around today. In Alaska, for example, you can still find brown bears, caribou, and wolves. People just like us actually lived through the Ice Age too. Our species, Homo sapiens, has been around for about 300,000 years. And we've spread all
They
around the
said them
world since then.
homosexuals
Some of our ancestors
lived
stayed in
100,000
Africa
years,
in the Ice Age.
300,000
They
years.
didn't
They was
feel
in the
the
Ice
full
Age.
effects of the cold. And
The
others ventured out
homosexuals.
into other parts of the world, even into the chilly glacial
They had to
environments
be
of Europe.
homosexuals.
Our
And
early
then they
relatives,
became Homo
like the
sapiens.
Neanderthals in Europe and the mysterious Denisovians in Asia, were also around during this time. Although they seem to have gone extinct before the end of the Ice Age, it's pretty
I
amazing
wouldn't
to
know
think about all
homosexuals
those
in the
different
Ice Age because
hominids that
the
roamed
dick
Earth
was
during
too
that
goddamn. You
period.
can't get no hard dick and no cold.
What's also
Goddamn.
fascinating is
Hell
how
no.
our species managed to
Just shrimp
survive
dick.
the Ice Age, while some of our cousins didn't. Some experts believe that our adaptability, social and communication skills, and the use of tools played a huge role in it. And guess what? Humans didn't just hunker down during that time. We actually moved into new areas. Fossilized footprints found at White Sands National Park in New Mexico prove that humans have been in North America since at least 23,000
I
years
was
ago.
in. I went to
That's
White
close to the
Sands,
peak of the
New
last ice
Mexico.
age.
So much security surrounding nigga ass.
While a full-blown
They
ice
showed White
age might
Sand
still
though
be
too
far
down
away,
there.
there is a possibility of a mini ice age
They got some
coming
kind
our
of
way.
military base. All them goddamn
Some
rockets and
scientists
shit on
believe that
side of
in
the
about 10 years,
highways and
we
shit
might
down through there.
experience a significant drop in solar activity, leading to colder temperatures in the northern
Alien
hemisphere.
activity and all that goddamn
This could
shit.
result in conditions
White
similar to the
Sands,
Little
New
Ice Age in the
Mexico.
late 17th century, when the Thames River in the UK froze over. While scientists aren't quite sure what caused that cooling, it's fascinating to think about the
Somewhere,
potential
something like
changes.
going through Salt Lake City.
We've done it
Sometime
before, so we know
you can
that
go through Salt
humans
Lake
will
City and
most
them
likely
Salt Lakes,
survive
boy,
the
had that
next
salt
real
around them
ice age,
goddamn lakes
even if
like
we
it
don't manage
snow
to
out
figure out a
there.
way
Them
to
was salt.
stop the next
Salt.
freezing era. But it would come at a high cost. All the ice that would cover most of the northern hemisphere
You
would have to
think
come
it's
from
snow out
oceans,
there?
which would cause the sea level to drop. This could
Goddamn
mean more
Salt
land
Lakes.
for some countries, but it would also create other problems. Sea levels going down might seem like a great thing at first, but actually, it could lead to some challenges. Having been covered with salt water for thousands of years, the new land might not be very fertile. This means
Salt
it wouldn't be
water
great for
spots
growing
and shit.
crops, and we'd have to find other ways to feed ourselves. Back when humans first started out, there weren't many of us, and there was plenty of food.
Yeah, now there
Now,
weren't
with
many
over
of
7 billion people on the planet, it's a different
Until
story.
the earth started
We'll need to
warming
be
up and the
resourceful to
goddamn
make
dick
sure
started getting
everyone has
hard.
enough food to
And
eat.
it was cold, dick couldn't get hard. Yeah, nah. You can pour no hot water on that motherfucking ice age and make that bitch hard. Hell no. Then you ain't had nothing but some lead. This dude right here, he worse than that goddamn hop-skip ride dude.
Hey, wanna
The
take a
hop-skip
wild trip
ride
back
drive
in time
dude,
to the
wasn't it? Fuck
Jurassic
you,
or Cambrian era?
hop-skip ride.
Trust me, it's gonna be a wild ride. But
I got a
surviving in those
customer
ancient
pickup. His name
environments
is
would
Kyle.
require some
It's
serious
a nice
skills.
cat, a nice
At the start of the
Nice
Cambrian
minor.
era, the air would be
Goddamn.
as thin as at the base camp of Mount Everest. But the climate was actually pretty chill and consistent back then. However, there was one teeny tiny problem. No
Man,
land plants or animals to
skip my
feast on.
shit.
So forget about firing up the grill for a juicy steak. Instead, you'd have
Yeah,
to
that
come
nigga
up
worse
with
than the
creative
hop-skip
ways to
ride
catch
drive
trilobites
dude.
and other funky
I'm like,
looking
ooh,
shellfish.
child.
Good luck finding a
Your
spear without
boyfriend
any
on the
wood or a
net.
fishing net without
Goddamn.
any plant fibers. And get ready to eat them raw, unless you can figure out how to extract oil from these creatures or burn dry seaweed.
The fuck?
But wait, if you're looking for a more comfortable existence, you gotta travel to 100 million years ago, to the Silurian period. Here, things start to get a bit easier. The air is still thin, but there's a bit more oxygen to go around. Plus, the climate is warmer and cozier. Simple land plants have finally made their debut. Not only that, but the first bony fish also show up on the scene. So you might actually find something more palatable to munch on. Just watch out for those prehistoric millipedes and spider-like creatures that share the land with you. They might not be the best dinner companions. Yeah, it all sounds fun and feasible, but let's talk a bit more about this crazy idea of instant transportation. If you magically appeared in a different time, the first thing you'd have to worry about is the amount of oxygen in the
Man,
air.
this shit went from Ice
Now,
Age
looking
to
at
this
that fancy
shit.
graph up there,
And this
it's
one of
pretty
them
clear that
goddamn
oxygen
documentaries that
levels
talk
used to
about
be
100
super
fucking
low
things and
before
ain't talking
about
about what it say.
0.85 billion years ago.
Is
Like, we're
America
talking
actually
just a
freezing over?
few
That's what I
percent
supposed
of
to be
the
looking at.
atmosphere. And there wasn't even any O2 in the air until this event called the Great Oxygenation happened about 2.3 billion years ago. So if you ended up back then, surviving would totally depend on how fit you are. If the oxygen concentration was less than 10%, you'd probably pass out, but not pass away. If it was just above 10%, you might be able to function, but you wouldn't exactly be living your best life. Based on oxygen alone, it seems like you could survive if you showed up around 0.75 billion years ago, give or take a few million years. Now let's talk about
Man,
the
this
cool
shit in
stuff on
Dubai,
land.
them niggas
The
compete
first
with
land plants
tags,
didn't show
goddamn
up
it. Fuck
until
the
around
car.
450 million years ago during the Ordovician period. Before
So
that, there were some
a
large
box
algae
Chevy
hanging
would beat a
around, mostly
Lamborghini
in the range
in
of
that
500 to
motherfucker.
600 million years ago. But there wasn't a whole lot going on until those land plants came along. Other forms of life didn't start showing up on land until closer to 300 to 400 million years ago. But there was this critter, a myriapod, that lived around 428 million years ago, and it was one of the earliest land dwellers. I mean, if you lived back then, you'd have to come up with fancy recipes featuring myriapods. Not exactly mouth-watering. Don't worry if you find yourself back in time before all that land action. Around 500 to 600 million years ago, the oceans were teeming with life. There were these creatures called the Edicarian fauna, and they were some of the first well-preserved organisms. Some of them probably hung out in the shallow areas near the shore, so you might be able to get your hands on them for a meal. But remember, there weren't any land plants yet, so you'd probably have to eat them raw and with no potatoes on the side. You'd have a sort of prehistoric sashimi on your plate. Now, around 500 million years ago, things started to get really interesting in the oceans after something called the Cambrian explosion. If you ended up in the Cambrian period, you'd have all sorts of weird animals to catch in the coastal zones. Check out the fossils from the Burgess Shale for some wild ideas. Look at these brachiopods, arthropods, and even worm-like critters. But again, no woody land plants at this point, so your meals would mostly consist of raw arthropods and algae. Alrighty, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of ice ages. It's when the Earth gets super chilly for a ridiculously long time, like millions and millions of years. This causes giant ice sheets and glaciers to spread all over the place, covering massive areas of the planet's surface. Believe it or not, our planet has experienced at least 5 major ice ages. The very first one happened about 2 billion years ago and lasted for 300 million years. The most recent
Man,
ice
hell
age
no.
kicked off at around 2.6 million years ago, and we're technically still in it. So, we're in the middle of an ice age, but we're not currently living in an icy wonderland. That's because we're currently in an interglacial period. During an ice age, temperatures go through ups and downs. When it's warmer, those ice sheets and glaciers start to melt, creating what we call interglacials. And when it gets colder, they expand again, which we call glacials. So right now, we're enjoying the warm interglacial period of the most recent ice age, which kicked off around 11,000 years ago. When people mention the Ice Age, they're usually talking about the last glacial period that started around 115,000 years ago and ended roughly 11,000 years ago when our current interglacial period began. During that glacial period, things were way cooler than they are now. At its peak, when ice sheets covered most of North America, the average global temperature was about 46 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a whole 11 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than today's global average temperature. That temperature difference may not seem like much, but it was enough to turn most of North America and Eurasia into ice-covered landscapes. The Earth was also a lot drier, and sea levels were way lower because most of the water was trapped in those ice sheets. We're talking vast steppes, dry, grassy plains as far as the eye can see.
No.
And let's not forget about the savannas, warm, grassy plains
Bitch, I'm
and
big,
deserts
dude.
that were also part of the icy sea. During the Ice Age, there were some familiar critters roaming around, like brown bears, caribou, and wolves. But there were also some mega cool creatures that sadly went extinct when the Ice Age came to an end. We're talking mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, and giant ground sloths.
You gotta come on with money, man.
Now, there
Trying to
are a
put some
bunch of
gas
theories
in these
floating around
things,
about
man.
why
Move
these
around,
magnificent
man.
beasts bit the dust. One idea is that us humans
And
hunted
one
them
thing,
into
I'm going
extinction
straight
when we crossed paths with these
to
mega
the other money.
Our species, Homo sapiens, actually survived the Ice Age. We've been kicking it on this planet for around 300,000 years now, starting out in Africa and then spreading our awesomeness all over the globe. Some of our ancestors stayed put in Africa and didn't experience the full ice effects. Others ventured into different parts of the world, even braving the freezing cold of Europe's glacial environments. But we weren't the only ones out there.
Sometimes I be thinking,
At the
I be like,
beginning of the
man,
Ice
get
Age,
rid of
there
this
were other
goddamn van to give me a
hominids,
damn
our closer
apartment.
relatives,
And
scattered across
just give me
Eurasia.
another one.
We had the Neanderthals chilling in Europe, and the mysterious Denisovans hanging out in Asia. Sadly, both of these
Slang
groups
this
seem to
son
have
of a
vanished
bitch.
before the Ice Age wrapped up. Now, there are countless theories about how our species managed to
You find me
survive
a
the
good
Ice Age
cheap
while our
apartment
hominid
though.
buddies didn't make it.
I ain't
Some
slanging it
believe
for
it's
nothing
because
high.
we're ridiculously adaptable and
Let's
used our
believe
social
that.
skills, communication, and nifty tools to our advantage. And get this, humans didn't just
I
hunker
ain't
down during
slanging
the
it at
Ice
all.
Age. Nope, we
They gotta
explored
come on
new
with that
territories
state
and
living,
made ourselves at
goddamn it.
home.
Just goddamn me
For the
nothing.
longest time, folks thought humans didn't set
$300,
foot in North
$400,
America
$500 rent.
until after the
Goddamn
ice
shit
sheet
like
started
that.
melting.
Yeah.
Fossilized footprints discovered at White
Fuck
Sands
that other
National
shit.
Park in New Mexico prove
This shit
that
is
humans have
pathetic
been
around
rocketing
here.
in North America for at least 23,000 years, right around the peak of the last ice age.
I mean, when I first moved to Seattle, the shit was $600 rent and shit. Boy, you couldn't find that shit nowhere. You can't find it no more. Shit.
When you get car insurance, you get a
You can
price
get
based on
a whole
all these
excavator and
drivers.
you ain't dig that up. God damn it, you
But
don't
when you
know.
get car insurance with Lemonade, you get a price based on
Unless
if you
you
drive
get
less,
it through the
you
state.
save. If you drive safely, you save.
Yeah,
Whatever
yeah.
your
Get
age.
that
We see you new
motherfucking
drivers.
housing.
You can even save by customizing your policy
Then
to
you be
suit
doing
you.
good.
And when you need help,
I have some more
we got
shit.
you.
Like I'm gonna turn down an
Sit through the
apartment and
Lemonade
folks
app or at
say, hey,
lemonade.com/car. Just
give
never
it
do it
here.
while driving.
Give me that motherfucker. You know, it's a lot of folks living in houses. They live in a big old house, and they be like, I've been living in my house for 15 years. Them motherfuckers been living on Section 8 for 15 years. Goddamn. We been living in my house. That shit amazed me when I found out that shit. I said, hold up. There was somebody living in a goddamn house. I was like, hold the fuck up. Y'all been living here? Section 8 and housing for this goddamn long in this goddamn house?
300,000 years ago.
Think of y'all own this
One of the
motherfucker.
earliest Homo sapiens to ever walk the earth. Others are sleeping or just resting their eyes.
You got to play the
All
system
around the
around this
cave,
motherfucker
all
where they
you
got
can hear
things
are
going.
stomachs rumbling.
I've been
Sounds
over
like
there.
a
You gotta
wild
play the
animal
system.
lurking around. You look
And
out the
your ass
mouth
will
of
be
the
out there
cave
working and
and see that the
slaving and
storm is
goddamn me,
cleared. Time to grab some
all
tools
types
and
of
head
other
out as a
shit.
group. In the open wilderness, you find some berries covered in snow and plants that might be edible, but it's not enough to feed the whole tribe. It's the Ice Age,
I know
and
one
there's not
time they
much
would never
vegetation
call me
growing
and tell me,
anywhere.
Mr. Dorsey, we have
One of
us.
your friends spots some large
Your
footprints in
number
the
has
snow.
came up on the
The
waiting
chase is
list.
on.
What?
You can't tell what it is, but it should be enough to feed everyone for a couple of days. As you go deeper into the snow-covered forest, you'll hear a growl behind you. You
That's
hope
my
it's your
motherfucking
stomach,
apartment.
but it
God
finds you
damn it.
and suddenly black out.
You get in
An
an
ice age
apartment
is
that
a
don't buy
period when
nothing. I
large
ain't
sheets of
lying.
ice cover everything,
I don't need
changing the
nothing
earth
in that
permanently.
motherfucker.
It's partly responsible for the raising
Cause I
and
learned from
lowering
my
of sea
last
levels,
apartment,
as
packing
well
all
as
that
the
shit
current
while them
layout
niggas
of
be
the
on the internet. My
continents.
man, ain't got nothing in that
Picture
damn apartment. You sure
monster-thick
fucking
ice
right.
sheets spread
I
across
ain't trying to
what's now
pack no
Canada,
motherfucking house full of
Scandinavia,
shit.
Russia, and
But
even
when it's
South
time to go,
America.
goddamn, it's time to
That's all
go.
caused sea levels to change
You
drastically,
stupid
and
motherfuckers.
temperatures around the world fell dramatically. And I'm not talking about just one ice age.
These
There
niggas
were a
going to
bunch of
thrift
them.
shops and shit,
Scientists
buying
say
all
there
these
have been
goddamn cheap
5
ass
major
paints
ice
and
ages throughout history,
cat
lasting for
litter
millions
buckets
of
and
years.
shit. Hey,
And we're in
goddamn
the
it.
middle of one right now. Relax, don't panic.
But
It
when you
doesn't
live
mean
with your
we're
mom
all
and
going to
dad
be
and them, you can
sleeping
do
next to
shit like that.
bonfires, trying to keep warm after being out
I'm
all
talking
day
about
looking
somebody
for
living on
woolly
their
mammoths.
own.
And no, there won't be a massive geological ice storm that freezes everything in its
When you
path.
live with your mom and
Ice
dad and your
ages have
friends
warmer
and
periods in
shit
them that come and go,
and
lasting
family
for
members,
tens
you
of
can do
thousands
shit
of
like
years.
that.
In fact, billions of years ago, the Earth was one giant snowball with no life on it. And the sun back then was also just a cute little fireball
I'm speaking
without
on
enough heat
living
to
on your
melt all that
own.
ice. But as the sun got bigger and hotter, Earth's ice slowly melted away, leaving the green and blue ball we have today. We're living in the Quaternary Ice Age that's been going on for the past 2.6 million years and counting. Some animals have thrived in this latest ice age, like whales and sharks. They've been at the top of the food chain for ages. Under them are seals, certain kinds of fish, otters, all the way down to tiny plankton.
Blanket.
Up on the cold surface, mammals had to grow thick and
That what
shaggy fur just to stay warm.
that little
Ancient
thing is on
mammals, rhinos, and
SpongeBob
bison
SquarePants
were known to
blanket.
have thick rubs on them. They looked awesome. They were herbivores and ate small shrubs and whatever grass they could find. But several thousand years ago, temperatures began to
That was the
rise,
first
and most of
motherfuckers
these
with that was the
animals
first
became
thing them
extinct.
herbivores. Them the
The
first
ones that
thing that had
remained
dreadlocks on
evolved into the
their
elephants, hippos, and rhinos we have today. You wake up from your blackout and find yourself face to face with a creature that kind of looks like a modern-day bobcat, except it's much bigger and furrier.
ass. Saber
It's a
tooth.
smilodon, an epic version of a saber-toothed cat with a mean look. It's around the same size as a male lion and has two front fangs that make me think twice before leaving the safety of my cave. They look scary, but scientists think their bite wasn't as powerful as today's tigers or lions. What made them tough were their giant forearms used to wrestle down anyone who got on their nerves. In packs, they were even able to take down mammoths. Either way, you don't want to be waking up next to this kitty. It's staring you down, ready to pounce. But you and your friends keep calm and slowly back off. You get the genius idea to throw a rock to distract it, then run. Nowadays, it's near impossible for a human to outsprint a lion or tiger, but humans back then were much fitter. Once the danger's over,
Shit.
everyone continues to look for food. It's getting dark, and you haven't found anything to bring back to the cave. Suddenly, you smell something burning. Way off in the distance, you see a thin column of smoke rising into the sky. Another settlement? You and your friends look at each other and approach the smoke cautiously. Homo sapiens first came into being about 200 or 300 years ago. But human history didn't just pop up out of nowhere. As far back as 7 million years ago, some of us decided to call it quits. We left our chimpanzee ancestors in the jungle and started doing our own thing. And that didn't just happen once. Over those next millions of years, there were over 20 different human species. Some were our ancestors, some were twigs from a completely different branch. Some were tiny, others better adapted for hot or cold weather. Before you know it, you see a group of Neanderthals cooking some meat, sharpening their tools. Neanderthals were the first to migrate to Europe. Scientists believe they were around somewhere between 40,000 to 400,000 years ago. They occupied all areas between Europe and Asia, while Homo sapiens, that's us, were still all the way down in Africa. You enter their camp and immediately see the differences between each other.
Said the
They're
homosexual was
stocky
in
and look
Africa.
a bit different, but there are some similarities, like flat teeth for chewing and gnawing, and big skulls for their big brains. They even have clothes on, like you. According to archaeologists, they lived in shelters and made tools out of stone, sticks, and bones. They welcome you inside and give you a tour like no other. You're officially meeting another human species. They take you inside their cave and show you some of their cave paintings. They were the first artists of their time. Many of their galleries are still around today, like the ones in caves in Spain. You know their style, minimalist paintings of deer, a large handprint. They also dabbled a bit in jewelry making. They made necklaces out of eagle talons and animal fangs. They were also probably the first ones to harness the power of fire. Did they discover it when a bolt of lightning hit a tree? Or when one of them dropped a rock on another rock, creating a spark? No one really knows. But they were able to recreate it and use it to keep warm, to cook food, to see in the darkness, and to protect themselves. After the nice tour, you hang around the campfire to
Yeah,
keep
that
warm.
is
They even offer you
strange how
some
they
extra
did
clothes
learn
for
to
the
use
journey
fire.
home. Mostly thick, shaggy mammoth coats. If only you could talk to each other, that would be awesome. But it's getting dark, and you need to head back to the tribe. You say your goodbyes and thank them for teaching you how to draw a deer, and for that sack of food they gave you. The Ice Age was important for the
Motherfucker
development
gave
of the
you a
modern
sack of they
Homo
dead
sapiens.
kids.
Because of the extreme cold and other harsh conditions, they had to adapt to survive, be extra clever and innovative. They
A
developed
sack of they
advanced
dead
tools and
motherfucking
even
people
used
that
bone
died out
needles to
there
sew warm clothing.
eating they
They may have
motherfucking ass.
hosted the first ever runway show.
Give you a sack of goddamn here,
Another
auntie
reason to be a good
calves.
driver is saving money.
Auntie calves and uncle thighs. And nephew jaws.
When the climate started to get warmer, they developed farming techniques to sustain themselves and mainly settled near large bodies of water like rivers or lakes, while others opted to be near seas and oceans. They, I mean we, were even the first to domesticate animals. Fast forward a few 100,000 years and here we are.
Imagine you're looking up at the sky on a clear night, and you see all those beautiful stars twinkling up there. Well, one of them is
Yeah, but
Betelgeuse,
should be
a celebrity among the
moving
stars.
around for like next
You
2 or
want to
3
catch a
days.
glimpse of it? Look up at
Doing
the Orion
something else.
constellation. It low-key looks like an archer holding a bow, and you can
Like I
spot
said, I gotta
Betelgeuse
wait
as
on
the
my
reddish-orange
motherfucking
dot on their
bread.
shoulder.
Gotta wait
It's
on
one
my
of the brightest
bread to
stars in
hit
the
the
sky,
goddamn
so it's
hard
hard to
card,
miss.
man.
Betelgeuse is not your ordinary star. First of all, it's gigantic, up to 1,000 times the size of our sun. Can you imagine that? It's so enormous that if we could somehow replace our sun with Betelgeuse, it would engulf all the inner planets, including Earth. And here's another fun fact. When we look at Betelgeuse, we're actually looking back in time. Yep, you heard it right. Betelgeuse is about 600 light years away from us.
Invest some
So the light
bread
we
to
see
get some
today
more bread.
actually left the stars 600 years ago.
That's what I
It
gotta
has
do
quite a
now.
history. This star has been shining brightly for millions of years.
Cause all the other shit out the
Long
way.
ago, even before smartphones and telescopes,
Yeah.
ancient Sumerians were the first to spot Betelgeuse in the sky. And it's been a diva this entire time. For example, in 1866, Betelgeuse became one of the brightest stars in the night sky. It was so dazzling that people could see it even during the day. Astronomers all around the world went bananas documenting this extraordinary event. Since then, Betelgeuse has been playing hide and seek with us. It all started when Betelgeuse started to dim back in 2019.
What?
Since then, it likes to dim and brighten sporadically. But these changes in brightness tell us about something important.
I be seeing that damn star doing
As
that
we
shit.
mentioned, Betelgeuse was always a bit of a troublemaker. It's been living a fast and furious life. Because of that, it has been burning its fuel at an incredibly
That's
fast rate. The changes in the star's brightness are clues that
serious.
Betelgeuse is approaching.
Ain't no fucking Beetlejuice.
Space telescope snapped jaw-dropping images of Betelgeuse, like it was getting ready to blow its top. All this made scientists think that the star is close to retiring in a dramatic way. It's about to go supernova. So picture a star partying hard, powered by the fusion of hydrogen atoms. It's like the star's own energy drink. But just like any party, the fuel starts to run out. That's when things get interesting. As the star guzzles up its hydrogen fuel, it slowly begins to run on empty. It can't sustain itself anymore. So now, it's time for the grand finale. This finale is called supernova. The star collapses in on itself like a deflating balloon. And temperature inside skyrocket to mind-boggling
That's crazy how they
levels,
say them
and this
stars will
celestial
collapse
tantrum
in and then
triggers a
pop.
colossal bang. So you can see why observing Betelgeuse is like having a front row seat to the spectacular drama. But here's the big question. When will this happen? Well, the answer is not as simple as setting a timer. You see, stars have their own schedules, and Betelgeuse is no different. It could be tomorrow, or it could be thousands of years from now. Scientists have come up with only a rough estimate. They believe that Betelgeuse will go supernova within the next 100,000 years. Quite a spread, huh? Sure, that sounds like forever to us, tiny humans. But in the vastness of the universe, it's just a blink of an eye. But there's a chance, just a tiny chance, that Betelgeuse could surprise us all and go supernova much sooner. Considering its dips in brightness, we might be in for a show within the next few hundred years. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, if Betelgeuse does go kaboom, what will happen?
1 minute you're calling it Beetlejuice, and next minute you're calling it
When a
Betelgeuse.
star collapses under its own weight, it unleashes a cosmic firework of epic proportions. The star releases a crazy amount of energy in the form of light and heat. Betelgeuse's supernova is going to be extra special.
And radiation.
It's like the superstar of supernovas. It will shine so brightly that it might even outshine the other stars in the sky. Picture that, Betelgeuse stealing the spotlight. The show could be so bright that you won't need a telescope to catch a glimpse. Nope, you'll be able to see it with a naked eye. It might even be visible during the day, making the sky look like it's hosting the coolest rave ever. After that, the supernova will keep us entertained for weeks. It will be like having a second moon in the sky, shining as bright as the full thing. Imagine that, 2 moons dancing together in the night. After several weeks of lighting up the night sky, Betelgeuse's supernova will slowly fade away, but it would leave behind a souvenir, an ethereal remnant. It's like a fading memory of the star's epic performance. This remnant, too, would slowly fade away over the course of several months. But it's not just about the light show. The boom will send out powerful shockwaves, and we might actually feel them right here on Earth. It's like the universe giving us a gentle tap on the shoulder, saying, hey, look at this amazing spectacle. How dangerous will it be for us? Well, we know that Betelgeuse's supernova would send dust and gas shooting into the atmosphere. It's like a big space sneeze. And this sneeze could cause a decrease in global temperatures. We're talking serious climate impact here. It could even lead to a mini ice age. But these are just assumptions. We don't know for sure if the consequences will really be that serious. But, of course, we want to be prepared for this event just in case. That's why
Hit the like
scientists are
button.
studying Betelgeuse
Drop some money in the
closer.
CASHAPP,
In
do
addition to
something. God
serious scientific
damn.
research,
The fuck is all
astronomers
y'all
also have a
motherfuckers over here
blast of
for?
celestial comedy.
Just
Jokes are
looking.
flying left and right.
Or y'all
Someone
just
has even
listening to
created
this
a
shit. The same
Betelgeuse
shit I
status
done
account,
found on the
which you can
internet y'all
check
can
yourself.
find. The fuck
So,
is y'all
as you
got
can see,
going
the
on?
star is keeping us on our toes. Astronomers keep observing it, and they need our help too. They want us to keep an eye on Betelgeuse. And
Money
record any
sign
changes we see.
MobTypeRecords.
How do you do that?
Drop $1 in the CASHAPP.
First
That
off,
should be 16
channel
of them.
your inner astronomer and observe Betelgeuse. Take a peek at the star and note down what you see. Is it twinkling, shining, or
I be
feeling a
seeing
bit
that
dim?
damn star though.
Jot it all
Look
down.
like it be going big
Then be a
and getting a little
superstar
to
yourself
sight.
and report your observations
I
to
be
the
seeing that
astronomers.
shit.
Your observations will help them track Betelgeuse's journey
Like it
towards
be
its big
just
supernova
glowing,
moment.
like it
You
just
can
got a
also
pulse
join in on
to it.
some citizen science projects.
Oh,
They're
looking at
super
the
fun
other
and
night,
easy,
matter of
trust me.
fact.
One cool project you can jump into is the Betelgeuse Brightness Monitor. By participating, you help scientists keep tabs on how bright Betelgeuse is shining. Your contribution can make a real difference. So join
I'm
the
gonna break out
monitoring
my
team.
star map
You'll
and
be
see
part
if
of
that
something
Beetlejuice.
amazing, and
Next
who
time I look
knows?
at
Your
find that
observations might even
motherfucker.
help predict when Beetlejuice will show off its supernova magic. By doing that, we can assist them in monitoring this superstar and learn more about the fascinating world
You
of
can
stars.
see that nebula up
That's how
there
we
too.
can
Them
help
motherfuckers look like
scientists to
it's just
predict this
glistening
event.
like
Now,
diamonds.
how can you
Whole lot of
personally
stars
prepare
in that
for it?
motherfucker.
First things first, you'll need the right gear to catch all the supernova
Yeah,
action.
you shoot
A
your naked
trusty
eye.
telescope is like your front row ticket to the starry show. It'll bring you up close and personal with Beetlejuice's performance. And remember, you'll need special eyewear to shield your eyes from the intense burst of light. Safety first. And of course, prepare in case it decides to mess with our climate. Stock up on essentials like warm clothes and supplies just in case we experience a mini ice age. But let's just hope it won't happen. So keep your eyes on the night sky, my friends. Beetlejuice may not be ready to blow up just yet, but when it does, it will be a sight to behold. Until then, let's enjoy the twinkling stars. And remember, there's always something extraordinary happening in the vastness of space.
There's not much to do in Antarctica except scientific work. You
I
could
know what
check
to
out the
do.
wildlife, like some cute
I know what to
penguins and
do for
seals,
y'all, lad.
and you'd get to see the occasional whale swimming
But them
around.
numbers will go down
Antarctica
then.
is one of the biggest lands out there that's only
Cut that
inhabited by
motherfucking
scientists
light
and
off.
researchers from all over the world. These
You can't
scientists
see
dug a
nothing.
hole through some
Well,
pretty
see how
thick
many of
ice
y'all
to study
listening.
the ancient air and how the
God
atmosphere cleans
damn. God
itself.
damn, that
They
motherfucker
used
shot
a
up to
special
20.
drill and dug a clean cylindrical hole
The fuck
450
y'all got
feet below
going
the
on?
surface. Some of this ice can be up to 800,000 years old and is a good indicator of what the climate was like in the past. It's like checking out tree rings to determine how old a certain tree is, except it's more complicated than that. After the effortless digging, they decided to drop some ice to the bottom of the
Somebody
hole
must be
and see what
talking
would
about
happen
me or
next.
something.
They heard some really unusual
Somebody wants
sounds.
some attention or something somewhere.
It felt like being on a spaceship traveling through a bunch of obstacles with many rocks smashing into each
I
other.
bet y'all can
The
go
pitches
searching somebody
changed
want
with the quick
attention.
descent of the block of ice, ranging from
I
high
bet you.
pitch and ending with
Who
a
wanna
low
bet me?
heartbeat-like sound. The scientists were puzzled when they first heard this and dropped some more ice, only to find out that the same type of sounds were being produced, just in different variations.
Somebody ain't got nothing else to talk about. I'm over
They
here looking
couldn't
at the
tell
ice
what was
age
down
earth.
there, and more importantly, why these kinds of sounds were produced. Antarctica
my
boasts
next
quite a
move.
few volcanoes, many of which are under super thick sheets
I
of
bet I can
ice.
get on the internet and find
Scientists
some
discovered
fool
91
that
volcanoes
focus
and
on me
claimed
and
there
don't
could be
know their
more,
next move.
potentially making it the most extensive volcanic region in the world. While they were doing regular scientific research, they
ain't
came
plotting
across
on their
many
next move.
unmistakable large cone-shaped figures underground. Some were as deep as 2 miles in the ice. Some of the peaks were over 3,000 feet tall and dozens of miles across. But on the surface, it's as plain as a sheet of paper. They may have dropped that block of ice inside an actual volcano that they were standing on. But it's unlikely. Even though the underground volcano presence was discovered by accident, there's a small chance they were actually standing on one where they had their workstation set up. It's more likely that they worked in an area where studying ancient climates is easier and less dangerous than other places. They collect ice samples and study them in a lab. It's like discovering a prehistoric insect embedded in amber millions of years ago.
I bet you some
Dinosaurs
kind
used
of
to roam the
lame out
land.
there.
But instead of
And
little
ain't got
bugs,
nothing else to do in this
scientists
world.
study ancient dust,
Nothing to
air
educate
bubbles,
nobody
sea
on.
salts, volcanic
Nothing.
ash, and anything
Let's
else
do a
that may have
wellness
come
check
from the
right quick.
environment.
We're gonna
They
go
can
see.
practically tell
We're gonna
how
come
the
right
climate
back.
was during that time.
Stay right there.
These ice samples might show that Antarctica's
Let's
western
do
ice
a
sheet
wellness check.
melted
You don't
when
have
the
to
Earth's
see.
climate warmed up.
I don't
If it
see
did,
no
then
lanes.
it's likely to happen again. That would mean sea levels rising, affecting coastal cities and small remote islands. but scientists aren't sure
And
it's
that other
true,
nigga, he got
despite
so
some
many
evidence to
goddamn
back it up.
pages. I don't know what the
The
fuck he
process
got
of
going
studying
on.
ice samples can take a week or even a year, depending on what they find.
And they goddamn
Crush
shadow
or
call
melt
them
the
niggas
sample
over there.
bit by bit.
Junkie
And like
punk.
those tree rings,
Goddamn
the
it.
deeper the layer, the further we go back in time.
Them folks
In
don't
order
like
to
this
study
shit.
ancient bubbles trapped in ice, researchers have to
You don't
crush the
give this
samples
pound
under a
homie
vacuum
like that.
to keep the air out while
Junkie
extracting
punk.
the air and putting it in vials.
Damn.
There are various instruments and devices to study the ice samples, but because it's so sensitive to damage, each measurement must be in a
Damn.
clean room setting so that nothing gets compromised. The scientists have to wear proper bodysuits and many layers of gloves and
What's your
constantly
life in them at?
even
They
something
ain't
as
over here telling me
tiny and
about telling me
insignificant as a
Junkie Punk don't
fingerprint can
Junkie
ruin a
Punk wanna
sample.
talk to
We
me.
look for certain patterns to see changes in the atmosphere's composition and
God
temperature.
damn.
But dropping a few blocks of ice down a hole wouldn't be so bad. The reason why it made such a peculiar sound
God
is the same
damn.
reason why a moving car sounds different when it's
That
honking
man,
than when it's
he was sitting
stationary.
in jail eating turds to
The
get out of
scientific
goddamn
word for
jail.
it
Couldn't
is
do
the
his
Doppler
time.
effect. It's an obvious change in the
I
frequency of a
tell you
wave
about some of
with
these niggas,
respect to an
man.
observer who
These
is
niggas be
moving relative to
weird.
the wave source. The effect doesn't mean the frequency of the sound changes.
Weird,
It
man.
just shifts. And this can be said about other types of waves, like water and light. But sound waves are the most popular ones when it comes to the Doppler effect. So, when the scientists dropped the ice
Yeah,
block
these some
down the
weird
bottom
ass
of the
people.
hole, the sound waves traveled back up and bounced around the narrow tube where they drilled. That's why they got the pew pew sound. Let's not forget that this ice block traveled 450 feet
But
beneath
you know
us.
what Donald Trump said about them
Ships dig
goddamn
holes
Haitians?
in the
Goddamn it,
crust
let me
that
see.
go thousands of feet beneath
They
the
eating the
earth.
cats and the
The
dogs,
Super
goddamn it.
Deep
They eating their
Borehole in
own
Russia
shit.
is the deepest hole ever
That
made by
motherfucking
humans.
Ali, he
It
over there
goes
to
more
my
than
and
40,000 feet
Mr.
below the
Trump,
surface
the Black
and took
Republican
almost
Party.
20
That
years
ain't
to
gonna even say
reach
Republican.
7.5
The
miles.
Black Republican Party.
Below it is only
Goddamn.
half the distance to
And
the
Donald
mantle.
Trump, Mr. Donald
In
Trump,
terms of the whole Earth,
he
this
put the
very deep
tariffs
hole is
in.
literally
Called
scratching
Ching
the
Chong
surface.
Wong.
This wasn't a
Goddamn
hole
it,
to
Chong
dig for
Wong
oil,
Ching or whatever
and
the
it
fuck
wasn't
that
in the
motherfucker
ocean
name.
either. The
Man, that
drilling
nigga
was
Ali
stopped
is
in
funny.
1992 when the engineers
That
found out that
motherfucker
the
is
temperatures
funny.
were 100 degrees Fahrenheit
He
higher than they
hilarious.
predicted. And then it was abandoned. And it's just been a
That
barren hole
nigga
now. But
hilarious.
that's the closest
Goddamn, we
we've
talking about
done to
Ching
the center
Chong
of the
Wong. When they
planet.
talking about the
The
African
scary thing
Chinese
is that some of the
president
workers
named
on the
Chong
site
Ching
could hear
Chong Wong
voices
Kong or
coming
some
from the
shit.
video.
Goddamn.
All the way in Yemen,
And Mr.
an
Donald
ancient
Trump,
hole exists in Barhout,
Mr.
in the
Donald J.
east of the
Trump,
country, in the middle of
goddamn.
the desert.
He
It's
put
actually
the
closer
Black
to
Republican
Oman
Party.
than to the
The
capital
Black Republican Party.
Sanaa. This
That nigga
hole
don't even
has
say
puzzled
Republican.
experts
The
and
Black Republican
locals.
Party.
Unlike
The
the
Black
holes in
Republican Party.
Russia and
Goddamn.
Antarctica, this wasn't man-made.
Yeah.
Or was it?
That
It's been
nigga say
around for
Republican
many
so
years,
goddamn
and the
fast. You don't
locals
even
try to
hear it.
steer away from it. They don't even like talking about it,
Put the
since they claim
tariffs
it brings
in.
bad luck
The
to those around
terrorists.
it, or to
Because
whoever
they
utters its
playing with
name.
the
They claim it was
terrorists.
created
And
as a
that nigga
prison
made up
for
his own
spirits,
definition on
but many
terrorists.
ruled that
And try
out.
to act like he was
The
talking
hole is
professional,
98
looking
feet
down at them
wide
notes.
and somewhere between
Goddamn.
330 to
Boy, that nigga,
650
the
feet
Ali
deep.
Zopow
You
is
can also hear
funny.
strange sounds coming from the inside. But according to some scientists,
That
the
nigga
well
be
has little
mean
to
what
no
he's saying too.
ventilation
He be acting
and
like
barely
he
has any
swearing down. He
oxygen
be
down
talking
there.
that shit.
So it's unlikely that
He
anyone
do be
or
talking that shit
anything
though with his dumb
lives
ass.
down there.
Goddamn.
The Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench caught some low-pitched grumble sounds in March of 2016. Some of these grumbles were followed by screeches.
Hilarious
They caught these
motherfucker.
sounds in a span of weeks using a titanium-encased
Goddamn.
microphone so that the immense pressure of the lowest point on Earth wouldn't crush it. They had to lower it slowly as well, since it's 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. For 23 whole days, the microphone recorded typical
Mr.
sounds
President
of
Trump
whales
said,
passing by,
you ain't gonna
sailing
use
across
this
from above,
and take this
even
away.
rumbles of nearby
We got
earthquakes.
63,
But they still
53,
couldn't
36
determine what
countries.
caused those
Ain't
initial
goddamn that
sounds.
nigga.
The
Now
researchers
you
couldn't
we
understand
put the
if the noise from
tariffs
above
on
of the
them.
Mariana Trench was
The
caused
Black
by
Republican
humans
Party.
or was natural.
Goddamn it.
They also wanted to know if these sounds affected marine life, like
That
dolphins and
nigga
whales
is
that rely on
crazy.
echolocation. They still can't figure it out.
That nigga,
Scientists
the Ali
estimate
is
that the
crazy.
ocean
I
is
can't
about
look at
10
that nigga
times
and laugh
noisier
and
than
the
it
way that
was
nigga be
50 years
saying
ago.
shit. That
With
nigga is
technological developments
funny.
in shipping, submarines, and
He
underwater
hilarious.
construction, the ocean will only get louder with time. Northern lights come with sounds, which nobody talks about. They're usually audible when the auroras are at their most powerful presence.
He
Scientists
gonna
were
throw his
always
Black
puzzled
Republican
as to what
Party, boy. He
caused
want
the
to Donald
faint
Trump.
popping and
He want to get
crackling,
in front of
even
Donald
though they
Trump's
were very
face
far above
like a
us.
motherfucker.
They
That's what he
used some
want. He want to be
special
just like
microphones
Kodak and
and found
Kanye.
out that the sounds came
He
just
trying to take Kodak
230
shine. He
feet
done put
above us,
Kodak picture
which
up
is
there.
pretty low.
He think
They're
Donald Trump
caused by
gonna look at him.
electrical charges gaining power in a specific
Ali trying
region
to say,
of
hey,
the
Donald
auroras.
Trump, hey, look at me,
Electrical
the
charges
Black
are
Republican
disturbed
Party.
by magnetic storms that
Thank you
fire
for
up regarding
supporting.
lights.
And don't ask
As a
him, don't
result,
tell Donald Trump
some
to
tiny
put the
sparks
Black
are released into the
Republican Party on
atmosphere,
your
causing the faint
website,
crackling
Mr.
and
Trump.
popping noise.
Man, Donald Trump ain't finna put that shit on this motherfucking website.
Don't worry, so am I. And I'm
Like the
so
Black
tired of
Republican
scrolling
Party.
through the same apps every single day.
Trying to
That's why
advertise
I
his books
decided
and
to
all
download
that
Go
goddamn
Live.
shit.
Right now, you can go live yourself or watch thousands of others go live
Well,
on
if you
Bigo.
would,
You
Mr.
can
Sir,
go live
can you
with just
add it to your
audio if you don't
website?
want to start your day.
Goddamn.
Alert!
How you
Alert!
doing, Mr.
Leave
Trump?
all your things
Well,
behind
you
and
just
find
like me.
safety immediately.
Goddamn, when I look
The
at your
southern
life, the
continent
struggle.
has just erupted. This is
Goddamn.
not a drill. You see people running around, screaming their heads out. Cars
Ali
bumping
ass
into
is
each other.
crazy.
The whole nation is in panic.
Talk like
You're
you
on the
ain't that
southern
nigga
coast of
barely made out
Australia,
of
but the sky
elementary.
is black and it
Goddamn.
stretches further than your eye can see. Your friend in southern
That
India
nigga
calls you
talk like
and
he
says the
barely
same
made out
thing.
of kindergarten.
There's ash in the sky and it's raining down on you. You hear rumbling in the distance, and it isn't even your stomach to blame. Everyone starts running inland. The black clouds swallow up everything in sight. Cars, trees, buildings. You're unable to see anything in front of you. Everyone's confused and scared. A tsunami breaches the shores, covering everything in its path. This is the Great Antarctic Eruption. Antarctica is that big continental
He be
desert
want to
covered
use
in
them
ice.
big words, but he
In
don't know how to
fact,
make it. He
it's
don't know how to
technically
use
the
them.
largest
Goddamn,
desert
that
in the
nigga
world. It's
keep
also
on going. What he
covered
talking
with a
about?
whole lot of volcanoes, just chilling
Especially when he
around.
was sitting at that desk talking
Scientists
about the
discovered that
tariffs
there are
in China.
138 volcanoes in Antarctica.
Nigga looking down at
91
them
of
notes.
which are under
Goddamn.
the icy surface, and 47 on top. And there might even be more. But most of these volcanoes are dormant. And for a volcano to be dormant,
That
it has
nigga
to be
wanted to
fast
use some
asleep
big
for the
words
last
bad in the
50,000
motherfucker on
years.
that one.
The last
You
volcano
just didn't know
eruption
what to say.
was Mount Erebus in the western part
You
of the
gotta keep it
continent.
gangster.
It's the most active volcano in the
Keep it
south side of the
natural.
world and is roughly 12,500
Things
feet
of that
above sea
nature.
level. That's as high as stacking the Burj Khalifa on top of itself 5 times. There's a whole bunch of these volcanoes stretched across the entire continent. In the most concentrated region, the volcanoes spread the distance equivalent to that between Canada and Mexico. And that's not even all of them. Scientists have warned that if any of these interior ice-contained volcanoes were to erupt, they'd melt the western Antarctic part of the land and increase the spill of ice into the ocean. It would raise the sea level and flood many endangered lands that are already at risk. And that's not mentioning the tectonic plates shifting underneath the surface, which allows some of the magma to squeeze its way to some surfaces. It's scary enough to expect what would happen if a huge volcano erupted. But what would happen if all the volcanoes in the Antarctic continent erupted at the same time? If you were one of those scientists on a boat on their way to conduct some experiments, you would begin to feel unease. You'd notice the water carrying a bit more of the current than usual. You look at your fellow scientists, and they too have the same look on their faces. As you land at the shore and take out all your tools and equipment, things don't seem normal. But the work has to be done. You head to the base and settle in. Business as usual. In the barren land, you see some emperor penguins waddling around, hunting, playing, and doing penguin stuff. But as you look around, you notice that the penguins all suddenly head to the ocean, and many of the wild Antarctic birds also begin flying towards the horizon. Weird. Then the ground starts shaking, and behind you appears a tower of smoke reaching to the sky. The ashes from a volcano can be very harmful for anyone with lung conditions, and even healthy people. The gases that come with it are usually blown away quickly, but are also harmful to humans and cause irritation to the eyes and throat. But if you're nearby, you may need a gas mask, or better yet, evacuate. The gases and ashes are the most dangerous part of a volcanic eruption. Even though the lava spewing and explosion may seem scary, the smoke in the sky can spread far away and even halt planes flying around. You look to your fellow scientists, and they signal to you that it's time to go. Make like the penguins and swim off. But the waters are extremely rough, and the rumbling's getting louder and louder. Suddenly, you see more smoke wafting towards the sky, but from different locations. Back to the boat. It's sad to say, but leaving all that equipment was needed to survive. Carrying all that stuff would have slowed you down, but you're safe. For now. Looking behind you, you see a dark smoke screen covering every corner of the continent. Volcanoes have different types of eruptions. It's not just the shooting out lava into the sky scenario. They can range from aggressive to calm. Some spew out lava and some don't. This all depends on the environment, the number of gases contained, or if there's any groundwater present, and even the chemistry of the magma. So, chances are you'd be seeing all various types of explosions around you. You're out of Antarctica's mainland, but it's surrounded by lagoons and giant ice caps all around. You're doing your best to maneuver around them, but the ash is falling down all around. The sky is dark as the smoke blocks out the sun. Volcanic ash comes in all sizes and can cause different damage, from as little as lung and eye irritation to smothering vegetation and crops. And that's just the thing. More often than not, these volcanic ashes are extremely thick. They can even collapse the roofing of some buildings if a lot of ash is accumulated. Not to mention blocking roads and compromising aquatic life. And that flash in the sky isn't your imagination. Ash clouds in the sky are so powerful that they create electrical fields that can create lightning storms. And these bad boys can interfere with radio signals and even start fires. Also, these clouds are extremely hot on their own. As if that lava flow isn't enough to start any fires. Oh well. But there are some volcanoes that are explosive, and along with the ashes flying around, there are flying rocks. This overheated rubble comes striking down like meteoroids from the sky, and can be pretty dangerous. You see the rocks hit the surrounding ice caps and water around you. As you reach a somewhat safe zone, you see the volcanoes all nicely lined up behind you, spewing all that thick red gooey fire. But the water tide isn't exactly peaceful. Volcanoes near oceans and seas can even cause tsunamis. Great. Submarine earthquakes shake the ocean bottom and produce large, powerful waves. And don't even think about surfing on them. If there are volcanoes spitting out red-hot lava, then why hasn't all the ice in Antarctica melted? The answer lies beneath the Earth's surface. Tectonic plates barely move underneath there. It's pretty safe to say they're stable. So for such a large piece of land, the coldest continent on Earth, the few active volcanoes are insufficient to melt all the ice. The real reason why the ice is melting and water levels are rising is the warm ocean current around Antarctica. But this time, they're all erupting at the same time. With the volcanoes discovered, who knows how many are left underground, covered in ice. And that's the scary part. Some of these volcanoes are hidden so deep beneath the icy surface that they now heat up from the lava spewing out. The ice begins to destabilize everything around. The ice on the ridges begins cracking open, little by little. Like giant cans of soda bursting open, lava shoots from the snowy depths, causing enormous cracks in the ground. And then, magma finds its way to the party. This uninvited guest will begin to melt the surroundings, causing the ground to destabilize even more. Slowly but surely, the ice around Antarctica will melt. And if all the ice is melted, the Earth's sea level would rise by around 230 feet. That means coastal cities would be submerged underwater. The ocean currents would be flipped around, and hurricanes and typhoons would not want to take a break. Marine life would be in danger, and many small islands would completely disappear. And not to mention the smoke in the air that would travel around the world, halting many flights in the southern region. And if the winds were strong enough, the whole world. The economies would flop, and a worldwide panic would begin. Health emergencies all year round. Yeah, a real nice picture.
This sleek, state-of-the-art submarine named Ran was sent to explore the depths of Antarctica. But as soon as it discovered something, it mysteriously disappeared. So, what happened?
Real Short, Short Movie and TV. Download today and get started.
So I went to my family doctor and he said, "Oh, you got Peyronie's," just very matter-of-factly. And then the bend got decidedly worse. So I went to see the urologist and he discussed different options, mainly just Xiaflex and surgery. Those were his two main treatments. There it is.
So what are you thinking about now? Are you thinking of going ahead with treatments?
I definitely see the positives, and I'm definitely leaning more towards speaking to my doctor about it. Part of the reason why I haven't done it yet is because I'm scared of, like, the needles.
Every guy is afraid of that. Certainly I was. I think it was just, you know, it was less invasive than surgery.
Well, my urologist, he's someone that I can talk to about the issue, you know, and reassure me that there's nothing wrong with me and that there's ways to make it better if I want to. My wife is almost more concerned about my well-being, and it just impacts your life in different ways that you don't even think about. You're a small piece of yourself, you know. You don't feel whole, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm struggling.
Yeah, I mean, talk to your urologist. Go check it out.
Important safety information. Do not receive Xiaflex if the Peyronie's plaque to be treated involves a tube that your urine passes through, urethra. You're allergic to collagenase Clostridium histolyticum or any of the ingredients in Xiaflex or to any other collagenase product. See the end of the medication guide for a complete list of ingredients in Xiaflex. Xiaflex can cause serious side effects, including penile fracture, corporal rupture, or other serious injury to the penis. Receiving an injection of Xiaflex may cause damage to the tubes in your penis, called the corpora. After treatment with Xiaflex, one of these tubes may break during an erection. This is called a corporal rupture or penile fracture. This could require surgery to fix the damaged area. Damage to your penis might not get better after a corporal rupture. After treatment with Xiaflex, blood vessels in your penis may also break, causing blood to collect under the skin, hematoma. This could require a procedure to drain the blood from under the skin. If a hematoma appears, skin and soft tissue necrosis, death of skin cells, may develop in that area, which could require surgery. Symptoms of corporal rupture or other serious injury to your penis may include a popping sound or sensation in an erect penis, sudden loss of the ability to maintain an erection, pain in your penis, purple bruising and swelling of your penis, difficulty urinating, or blood in the urine. Call your healthcare provider right away if you have any of the symptoms of corporal rupture or serious injury to the penis listed above. Do not have sex or any other sexual activity between the first and second injections of a treatment cycle. Do not have sex or have any other sexual activity for at least 4 weeks after the second injection of a treatment cycle with Xiaflex and after any pain and swelling has gone away. Xiaflex for the treatment of Peyronie's disease is only available through a restricted program called the Xiaflex Risk Evaluation and Mitigation Strategy, REMS program. Hypersensitivity reactions, including anaphylaxis. Severe allergic reactions can happen in people who receive Xiaflex because it contains foreign proteins. Call your healthcare provider right away if you have any of these symptoms of an allergic reaction after an injection of Xiaflex. Hives, swollen face, breathing trouble, chest pain, low blood pressure, dizziness or fainting. Back pain reactions. After receiving an injection of Xiaflex for Peyronie's disease, you may suddenly feel back pain.
Bitch, we ain't talking no motherfucking back pain and shit.
It all started when scientists wanted to explore one of the most remote and mysterious places on Earth, the Dawson Ice Shelf in West Antarctica. This ice shelf, silent giant, stretches 30 miles wide. That's almost the length of New York City. It stands between two icy promontories, the Martin and Bear Peninsulas, and it hides an entire world of geological mysteries. If you think that Antarctica is nothing but a desert of super thick snow and ice, you're wrong. there are entire landscapes hidden deep down there. The underside of the Dodson ice shelf is a rugged, dynamic terrain shaped by the slow, relentless forces of nature. There are towering ice formations, deep troughs, and bizarre structures stretching for hundreds of feet. Scientists are super curious about it, but as you can imagine, this landscape isn't easy to explore at all. To find out more, we have to scan the area with satellites or try drilling through the snow, trying to collect the big picture, piece by piece. But these methods only gave us vague hints. The real breakthrough happened when scientists came up with the idea to let the submarines explore it. Autonomous submersibles could swoop deep into the icy waters beneath the Dodson ice shelf and tell us what's up down there. These robotic explorers have fantastic advanced sonar systems. It's that thing that bats or dolphins do. They can use sound to see the world. Basically, they send out sound waves underwater, and when those waves hit something like the ice shelf above or the seafloor below, they bounce back to the system. Animals feel how long it took for the sound waves to return and how they changed. And this helped them understand what's located where. For example, clicks that dolphins send out tell them where the fish are. We copied this crazy evolutionary trick and adapted it to our underwater exploration. Only our version is much cooler, with a higher level of precision, so we created detailed maps of the environment. The Rand submarine was one of those robotic explorers. It was named after the Norse deity of the sea. Ran had been meticulously programmed to navigate a treacherous landscape of Antarctica. But even with all this training, its journey led to an unexpected and eerie end. In 2019, Ran was sent to explore the depths beneath the Dodson ice shelf. It was a hero, the first one to go on a mission like this. The team said it was like seeing the other side of the moon. For 27 straight days, it worked tirelessly. It traveled over 620 miles beneath the thick ice. That's like a journey from Paris to Berlin. Ran went further and deeper than anyone could have imagined. At one point, it reached over 10 miles into the glacier's belly, and what it discovered down there was astonishing. Scientists thought there would be some smooth, uniform ice surfaces, but Ran revealed an underside marked by huge cracks, ridges. There were formations that looked like sand dunes, frozen in time. And finally, it found some mysterious swirling and teardrop-shaped patterns. They all looked more like art than geology. This actually tells the story of ice shelves and the ocean around it. Warm water sneaks in under the ice and melts it from below. Sometimes it smooths the ice out, but other times it carves out these weird, uneven shapes that look like patterns and drawings. And some of these shapes are huge, over 1,300 feet long. That's about 3.5 football fields. The reason why they look like swirling doodles is because the Earth spins. It makes the water turn in special ways, bending the shapes and drawing these spirals. It's called the Coriolis effect. Imagine you were on a merry-go-round and tried to throw something like a ball. It would go in a curve, not a straight line. Same thing happens with the water on Earth. Later, scientists found similar patterns in other Antarctic ice shelves, though they weren't as epic as the ones under Dodson. But Ran also discovered something horrifying. Turns out that these warm waters, aside from being great artists, are also a huge danger. The Dodson ice shelf isn't just hanging out serenely on the sea. It's part of a very delicate system and acts as a protective barrier that holds back huge glaciers in West Antarctica. The ice shelf is floating on the ocean, but it's still connected to the land. As warm water sneaks underneath it and the ice melts, the Dodson can't hold on to the land as tightly anymore. The protective barrier starts to weaken, and this lets the glaciers behind it move faster into the ocean. When those glaciers flow into the sea, they add more water, which could cause sea levels to rise, eventually changing our coastlines. Rand stumbled upon huge pockets where the ice was melting at alarming rates, all due to powerful underwater currents. It was like seeing a ticking clock on the glacier. The stakes were high, but luckily the submarine was ready. This time, it managed to return. And then, it worked for 5 more years, helping scientists with tons of useful data. The missions were daunting. There could be periods where Rand slipped into the pitch-black cavity beneath the glaciers, spending 24 hours without communication. But it was mapping every peak and every valley. It gained experience from over 40 missions below ice. Then, in early 2024, Rand went on a mission to the Thwaites Glacier. The mission was bold from the start. This place is also ominously referred to as the Doomsday Glacier. It's called that because it's slowly melting and has the potential to raise sea levels worldwide if it collapses, causing catastrophes everywhere. That's why Rand was dispatched to explore its underbelly, a place that had never been mapped so intricately before. The idea was to uncover the glacier's secrets, study how rapidly it was melting, and why. This was Rand's second time exploring Thwaites. During the previous visit, it became the first sub to ever map the glacier's underside. Rand was exploring the depths from 650 feet to 1,650 feet. It sent a lot of data about how the Doomsday Glacier was slowly melting due to warm ocean currents. But while venturing into these icy depths, something went wrong. Out of nowhere, Rand vanished, without warning, without a trace.
In the story of Africa, 3 very different cats have come to rule their separate kingdoms. Each is an elite athlete. The cheetah has mastered speed and is the fastest animal on land. The leopard is a climber, adept in the vertical world of the woodlands. And the lion, hunter of the most dangerous prey. Tasked with the most demanding of families. Their very different stories collide along one special river in Botswana, where their kingdoms converge and overlap. Now their lives and skills must bend around each other as they compete, cat, to hunt and raise families in a world that is changing all around them. Since ancient times, 3 big cats have stalked the face of Africa. As if by agreement, they divided the land. Leopards would tiptoe through the forests. Cheetahs would course across the savannah. And lions, well, lions would go pretty much wherever they pleased.
One moment, it was sending back crucial data, and the
Just
next,
the lion,
it had
tigers, and
slipped
bears
into
sound I
the
need
abyss.
unless you're talking about the
No
goddamn
distress signals, no final transmission, and it didn't
the
return to the
universal
point it was supposed to.
warming his goddamn
People
earth
sent
for
extensive searches,
cooling it off or whatever.
helicopters
the
soared
fuck
overhead,
it is.
drones buzzed through the frozen skies, but no sign of the submersible emerged from the glacier's grasp. After a while, Rand's batteries would certainly run away. So at this point, it had definitely been swallowed by the abyss beneath 1,500 feet of ice. That was a huge and sad loss for the scientific team. The scientists at the University of Gothenburg are now looking to replace Rand and continue their important research under Thwaites. To this day, scientists have no idea what happened to it. Some say it may have been trapped in the ice. Others believe it was pulled away by an unseen current. It also might have collided with something unexpected. Whatever the truth is, its disappearance has left scientists stunned. and it looks like the ice shelf will hold on to its secrets a little longer. At least we gained a treasure trove of knowledge from Rand's journey. Scientists keep exploring Antarctica, looking for history that hides under the snow. For example, they discovered that around 90 million years ago, a lush temperate rainforest thrived near the South Pole. They revealed an ancient world far warmer than they ever imagined. Deep in Antarctica, they unearthed fossilized roots, pollen, and spores preserved in the soil. All this shows that there was a swampy rainforest that flourished despite months of polar darkness. All these discoveries changed our understanding of Earth's climate, both in the past and the future.
Do you know that NASA explores not only stars, planets, galaxies, or black holes? Hard to believe, but yes. The agency also works on discoveries here on our home planet Earth. So what has NASA recently discovered? Is there life under the ice? While they were analyzing data recently, they discovered something unbelievable hiding under Antarctica's ice. And this discovery not only changes everything we know about the whole water system of the Earth, but it may also help with research about life in space. Humankind's existence might depend on understanding Antarctica and its secrets. So, the recent discoveries reveal vital information about our survival. But before we continue, let's see how much you know about this place, where it's only ice as far as your eyes can see. Antarctica is one of the world's 7 continents in the southern hemisphere. It's the 5th largest continent in terms of total area, and that means it's almost twice the size of Australia. Want to see real meteorites? Go to Antarctica. Due to its dry climate, Antarctica is one of the best places to observe space. But what's even greater is that you can find meteorites on the white surface of the continent. Scientists have already plucked about 45,000 meteorites from the ice, and they think they can see another 300,000. Since there aren't many terrestrial rocks there, it's easy for them to spot them, thanks to their dark color. Antarctica's dry desert environment also helps preserve them, even the ones that fell to Earth more than 1 million years ago. And can you imagine any volcanic activity in Antarctica? It's hard. But this place is where fire meets the ice. West Antarctica is where most volcanic activity occurs. Scientists recently found that 138 volcanoes exist in West Antarctica alone. Wow. You would think that Antarctica is always cold, but no. Its coastal regions can get as warm as 50 degrees Fahrenheit. But have you ever wondered what Antarctica would look like if there were no ice? It may seem unimaginable now, but it was not always covered by ice. That was 34 million years ago, though, so nobody could tell how the continent's surface would be without the ice. But NASA changed that. They generated computer simulations and created the most accurate map of it as of today. What they saw was incredible. The continent was not flat at all, like it seemed. It's pretty bumpy, with valleys, rolling plains, and high mountains. But this was nothing next to what they had discovered under Antarctica's ice. So, what is it? Drum roll, please. NASA found 2 new subglacial lakes. And what's even cooler about it is that they spotted these lakes from space. How is that? If your answer is high-tech satellites, then you're right.
Start building your crypto portfolio today. MoonPay is your ticket to lightning-fast transactions with some of the
In 2003, NASA launched a satellite called IceSat. It measured ice sheet mass balance and cloud and aerosol heights. The satellite also helped create the ice-free map of Antarctica. In 2010, the European Space Agency launched the second satellite, CryoSat-2. It was for tracking the changes in the thickness of the ice. Then, in 2018, NASA launched the third one, ISat-2, a follow-on to the ISat spacecraft. It measured ice sheet elevation and sea ice thickness. It was NASA's most advanced Earth-observing laser instrument. It delivered the highest precision data. And when that was combined with the data from the other satellites, it was possible to spot these two new lakes near a pair of larger ones. But how is it possible that these lakes exist in the first place? The average thickness of most Antarctica ice is approximately 1.2 miles. However, it can get over 1.8 miles thick in some places, especially during the winter. So, you might think that there's nothing under there, but science says otherwise. It's not quite possible to see it with your bare eyes, but the continent's ice is slowly but constantly flowing in different directions under the force of its weight. But scientists could not figure out how water moved for many years. That started to change in 2007, when data gathered from the ISat provided insight into what hides beneath the surface. They first discovered an entire network of meltwater lakes connected under Antarctica's fast-flowing ice streams, and there were hundreds of them. Scripps Institution of Oceanography glaciologist Helen Amanda Fricker figured that the elevation changes measured by ISat happened because of the dynamics of these lakes.
One nigga running
They did not
by
hold
here.
meltwater statically. Instead,
That nigga
they
run
were
one way
filling
and then run the
draining
other way.
continuously over time through a
Feel like I just
system of
heard the nigga with
waterways.
his skateboard
And
come
as
up
they
and
did
down
that,
the
the
sidewalk.
ice above rose and fell. But where do they drain?
One nigga
The
come through
ocean,
him
of
up
course, and it drains a lot.
in
A
his knees
recent
and
study,
shit.
co-authored by Fricker, found that the
One time he
drainage of
came
one
through
lake
his bumper.
flushed
They
as
not
much as
like us.
198 billion
Goddamn.
gallons into the ocean in only 3 days. Countless mysteries about how nature works are still waiting to be solved. But finding the two new lakes will give scientists a better picture of how fast the Antarctic ice sheet will change as the climate gets warmer, and how this will affect global ocean currents and sea level rise. The filling and draining cycle of the lakes also caused the ice sheet to suffer cracks and crevices. So, the information they find from these new lakes will also give them a better understanding of the damage on the surface of the ice. They will also be able to assess how this filling and draining system influences the speed at which ice slips into the oceans and seas. And that means they can evaluate how the added fresh water may alter marine ecosystems. This discovery may also suggest whether life is under the ice. Wow! Scientists drilled through about 3,504 feet of ice and found that water samples taken from one of the lakes contained approximately 10,000 bacterial cells per milliliter. Such a high number of bacterial life is a good sign, because that means the icy waters might also support higher life forms, such as microanimals. And one of these new lakes might even be their home. But the most exciting thing is that the new lakes might help them understand whether life on other planets is possible. Scientists believe any life below the frozen surface of the planet Mars might follow the patterns seen in Antarctica's lakes. So, there is a possibility that they might find critical new information on the type of life that may have existed on the red planet. You wouldn't want to be there during the winter, though. The
I
lowest
know one
temperature
thing,
on
I'm
Earth
probably
you
not
can
coming down this
experience
street
is
tomorrow.
negative
Dang.
128 degrees Fahrenheit.
This
In
motherfucker
2010,
not moving.
there was an even lower temperature of negative
Until they do
135
big
degrees
ass work
Fahrenheit.
truck down
You
there.
may feel this cold
You
much
gotta work
worse
around
due to
it.
the strong and dry winds. Did you know that the size of the ice surface on Antarctica also changes throughout the year? It's about 1.2 million square miles during the summer, but when it's winter, it grows to 7.3 million square miles. Yet, despite the change, it remains the largest piece of ice on Earth. Sorry, Arctic, you lose. Do you know these cute little penguins? Consider these animals the locals, because there is no native population in Antarctica. It's a no man's land, because no single country owns it. But do you know who really owns it? 5 different species of penguins, seals, and killer whales. Despite the continent's harsh conditions, you can visit it as a tourist for fishing and research purposes. Around 5,000 people reside on the continent during summer at research stations. But when winter comes, the number naturally drops down to 1,000. Antarctica's ice blanket makes up 70% of the world's freshwater reserves. Imagine what would happen if it melted. The global sea levels would be raised by almost 200.
They say it's safer to get someone on the International Space Station than to evacuate someone from Antarctica in the winter in case of an emergency. So if you're wondering what it's like to be an astronaut but aren't ready to leave the Earth, consider the career of an Antarctica explorer. The desert conditions around the South Pole are much like those on Mars. The lowest temperature ever recorded here was almost minus 129 degrees Fahrenheit. You can find more meteorites here than anywhere else on Earth. Plus, there isn't any sunlight here for 6 months every year, just like in space all the time. So, NASA scientists use this land to test their space robots, to design the best astronaut meal plans, and to know what it would feel like to fly to another planet in complete isolation. The first people came here to stay on purpose for the whole winter in 1899. All 10 of them lived in a small cabin made of pine wood that was only about the size of 2 bedrooms. The windows were boarded up, and the roof was covered in sealskins. Heavy coal held it down to stop the wind from blowing it away. Even though it was tough, all the men survived except for one. More than 100 years later, the little hut is still standing and is the oldest building in Antarctica.
When you get car insurance, you get a price based on all these drivers. But when you get car insurance with Lemonade...
Today, Antarctica has over 40 research stations that are open all year, and about 60 more that are used only during the warmer months. In the summer, up to 5,000 people live here doing their research. The places where they stay are much more comfortable than they used to be. No need for sealskins anymore.
You know, you can look on Google Maps and you see a big ass building sitting out there on that
Stays
ice
warm using sunlight and heat from people and electrical appliances.
with some
It's
letters
covered
on
in
top
shiny
of
metal
it.
and built on strong rocks, with walls that are more than 1.5 feet thick. These walls have 9 layers of different materials like wool, paper, and wood. The temperature inside stays at a comfy 68 degrees, even when it's freezing at minus 58 outside. The eco-friendly station uses wind turbines and solar panels for power, and it makes more energy than it really needs. Brazil's Comandante Ferraz station is divided into 3 levels, kind of like a themed hotel. The top part is 30 feet tall and has bedrooms, restaurants, and other facilities to live comfortably. The middle part, which is almost 20 feet tall, is used for science experiments and maintenance. The lowest part, about 8 feet high, is where they store things and park vehicles. It also has video
I
conference
think
rooms,
that's that building.
libraries, and living rooms. The station's height can be adjusted depending on the temperature and melting ice, so it stays safe and comfy for the people living there. This design also helps to minimize the impact on all the wildlife around it. Another interesting station is Britain's Halley 6 Antarctic Research Station, which looks like a robot from Star Wars. It's made up of 8 separate sections. The station sits on tall legs that allow the wind to blow the snow away. This way, it isn't stuck to the ground. The bottom is shaped like sleds, so they can move the station around when needed. This is important because it sits on a huge moving glacier, which slowly pushes it towards the sea. The station sleds let it be moved back regularly for important studies, like observing the atmosphere. This is the first research station that can be fully moved like this. Some scientists don't stay at research stations, but live in tents on the ice for days. They spend around half of the time trapped inside because the wind blows some serious amounts of snow on the tents and blocks the exit. They say it feels like exploring space. One earthly question, though, is how they use the bathroom while out exploring in Antarctica and not at a research station. There aren't any real bathrooms unless you bring or make one. Some explorers use a special tent just for that, or build snow walls or igloos for privacy. All waste has to go with them when they get back to the research station. You can't just leave the waste in the wild there, according to the Antarctic Treaty System that regulates all human activities. It could harm the local environment. So at the end of the season, they send it back to their home country in special containers. So nothing stays in Antarctica. Each research station gets its fresh water in different ways. In the past, people had to shovel snow and ice into big tanks and then heat it up to melt it into water. Now they mostly pump water from a lake that forms when ice melts and store it in a heated building. On average, one station needs about between 2,500 and 4,000 gallons of water every day. To save water, people can only take 3-minute showers. When water is running low, they might only be allowed to shower every second or third day. Building new constructions in Antarctica isn't exactly easy because of snow that can pile up as high as a 1-story building. Super strong winds blowing at 85 miles per hour with even faster gusts, and temperatures dropping really low. The weather only allows transportation for about 12 weeks each summer, so some stations take years to finish. Storing everything once it arrives is tricky too, because there's not much space and the weather is extreme. Most materials stay in their shipping containers, and for things that need to stay warm, they bring special heated storage containers. So, architects have to get creative with designs and try to use less building material. India's Bharati polar base, for example, is made from 134 shipping containers. These containers were used to bring the materials to Antarctica, and then they became part of the building itself, covered with a special insulated shell to keep it warm. In the future, scientists might build Antarctic bases that don't need much material from outside at all. In 2009, David Garcia from a Danish company had a cool idea called the Iceberg Living Station. This would be a base with many rooms, big enough for 100 people, dug right out of the packed snow or icebergs that have broken off from the ice shelf. A group of scientists from different countries spent 26 weeks together in the Rothera Research Station. Among them were a couple of Americans, an Icelandic mechanic, a few Germans, some Scots, and a Welsh speaker. They rarely had a chance to contact their loved ones back home because it was too expensive to call on the satellite phone. With just each other for company and not many things to do for fun, they talked a lot during work, breaks, and while playing pool. They discussed everything, mostly weather, like the wild weather and icebergs. They all used English for communication. Over time, their accents started to change. They didn't notice it at first, but they were part of an experiment where they recorded their voices regularly. They would say the same 29 basic words, like food and coffee. When the recordings were sent to a team in Germany, they found that some of the words were pronounced differently. It was clear that a new accent was starting to form. They started to pronounce the OU sounds in words such as flow and disco differently. We normally pronounce it from the back of the throat, and in their case, it shifted to the front of the mouth. 6 months isn't such a long time when it comes to language changes, but such things happen when people are cut off from others. When they talk to each other a lot, they remember how the other person sounds and start copying it without even realizing it. This could help us understand why American and British English became so different. The people on the Mayflower were in similar circumstances. They were isolated when they traveled to North America. If you want to speak like an Antarctic winterer, here's some of their slang you can quickly learn. Fodplod means picking up rubbish. FOD stands for foreign object debris. If someone tells you it's a dingle day today, they mean the skies are clear blue.
Real Short, short movie and TV. Install it now.
A smoko is a tea or coffee break. Gonk means sleep. And my absolute favorite is fox hat. It means the base cinema night. Look at those lush coniferous forests and tundra. What a wonderland. You may have mistakenly thought it's Canada, but it's not. It's Antarctica, about 34 million years ago. So what makes Antarctica this frigid today? It turns out a mix of dropping carbon dioxide levels and some tectonic shuffle played a huge role in transforming this ice-free paradise into the frozen continent we know now. About 50 million years ago, CO2 concentrations were sky high, strutting around at around 1,000 to 2,000 parts per million. But as those levels tumbled down, global temps started to drop, paving the way for the mighty ice sheets that later took over Antarctica. While the CO2 dive was happening, tectonic activity was also working its magic. The big split between South America and Antarctica opened up the Drake Passage, which created the Antarctic Circumpolar Current. This powerful current acted like a bouncer, keeping warm air and ocean currents from crashing the Antarctic party and helping keep things rather frosty. If you mix up Australia and Antarctica, you're not that wrong. These two continents used to be one. If you mix up Austria and Australia, it's much worse. By the way, don't fall for the internet myths and memes. There's no help desk in Austria specifically for people who intended to fly to Australia. Now, look at this magnificent Australian pink beach. It's precious, and not in a figurative sense. Those mysterious pinkish sands are actually garnet, and it's widely used in jewelry. Geologists studied those sands and came to the conclusion that the garnet contained there is older than local mountains. That doesn't make sense, right? In fact, it does. You see, Australia didn't used to be this very detached continent as it is now. Many, many millions of years ago, Australia and Antarctica were part of the supercontinent Gondwana, and glacial erosion released the garnet, which eventually made its way to the beach. These sands formed when South Australia was flat and chill, long before the mountains appeared. Most garnet gets washed away, but this batch has a rich history, tracing back to glacial rocks in the Transantarctic Mountains. So this pink sand comes from an ancient mountain range hidden under Antarctic ice. Not only does Antarctica ice hide gems like garnet, if you look harder, you might find entire buildings. Sounds insane, but this is exactly what a British explorer did. His name is Chris Brown, and he uncovered an entire building beneath the ice. He was traveling to the pole of inaccessibility, and it all started with a bummer. Chris and his son had their plane broken. Suddenly, they spotted a lone bust peeking out of the snow. This place was an old meteorological station. Despite freezing conditions, Chris and his son Micah had a blast exploring. Chris is on a mission to conquer all 7 earthbound poles of inaccessibility and has tackled 5 so far. I guess you already know that Antarctica is the largest desert on Earth, much larger than the Sahara or the Gobi. Still, despite being the driest continent on Earth, it boasts a seriously weird waterfall. Nestled in the mesmerizing McMurdo Dry Valleys, it's 5 stories tall and looks like it's gushing blood. It's even called Blood Falls. It may look outlandish and even frightening, but its nature can be easily explained. The water that creates this crimson cascade was once a salty lake, but over time, it became sealed off from the outside world when glaciers formed on top of it. Now, this ancient water hanging out 1,300 feet below the surface has cranked up its salt levels to 3 times saltier than the ocean. This salt water is also loaded with iron and gets 0 oxygen or sunlight. When the iron-rich water trickles through a crack in the glacier and meets the air, it rusts up, turning dark red. You may have mistakenly heard that no bug species belongs to Antarctica, but it's not exactly true, because there's this tiny Antarctic midge living there. Plus, there are some spiders too. Those aren't your average spiders hanging out in the darkest corners of your apartment. Those are critters lurking in the chilly darkness of the Antarctic ocean floor. These little marine creepers are actually arthropods and can stretch around 20 inches across. As if that wasn't bizarre enough, they also breathe through little holes in their legs. Quick question. What's the color that you associate most with Antarctica? I'm sure it's white. That's my association too. However, Antarctica may look like a slice of watermelon. That colorful snow comes courtesy of a tough little algae called Chlamydomonas nivalis. When things start to warm up during the Antarctic summer, These little guys release their vibrant red and green spores, painting the snow in wild and funky colors. But it's best to steer clear because that snow is not just a pretty sight. It's also toxic and definitely not edible. Searching for fossils is always a blast. But when you're in one of the most remote spots on the planet, it gets even more exciting. A diverse team of scientists recently hit the mother lode, pulling in over a ton of fossils from ancient marine life, dinosaurs, and birds from the late Cretaceous period, about 71 million years ago. Their adventure kicked off with a flight to South America, followed by a 5-day trek through the infamous Drake Passage. Upon reaching Antarctica, they set up camp using helicopters and inflatable boats. You might be thinking, why dig in Antarctica with all that ice? Well, it turns out there are places where rocks pop up, depending on the season. The team went to James Ross Island, located in the Antarctic Peninsula, and they went there during February and March. And that's one of the few parts of Antarctica where in summer, rocks are exposed, and those rocks can come from the age of dinosaurs. The expedition was a success, as they discovered over a ton of remarkable finds. Next up, the fossils will head to Chile before making their way to Pittsburgh's Carnegie Museum of Natural History. Among their discoveries, they found relics dating back about 71 million years, alongside some around 67 million years old, including plenty of snails, clams, and various marine creatures. Yikes! Look at this creepy sea worm. It could live in LA and be a star in a horror movie, but it chooses to call the chilly waters of the Southern Ocean near Antarctica its home. These worms can grow up to 8 inches long and 4 inches wide, but don't let their spooky exterior trick you. Research suggests they might actually be superheroes in disguise, playing a vital role in keeping ecosystems buzzing. Now, see that head? It's not really a head. It's just a retractable throat that helps this toothy creature chow down on its meals. Antarctica has many creepy critters to offer. Let me introduce you to the Antarctic strawberry feather star. It's not like Patrick from SpongeBob, though. It's more like a deep-sea creature straight out of a horror movie. Picture this: 20 wiggly arms, some stretching up to 8 inches, all decked out with these bizarre little bumps. Yikes indeed. Back in 2014, scientists buried 34 seismic monitors in the snow on the Ross Ice Shelf, which is huge. Think of it as an ice slab the size of Texas, just chilling over the Southern Ocean. These clever little machines picked up a nearly non-stop buzzing. Even though our human ears usually can't catch these low-frequency sounds, scientists have worked their magic and made them audible for us. They even shared the creepy audio online. A glaciologist from the University of Chicago says that if you could hear this vibration, it'd sound like a swarm of cicadas taking over the backyard in late summer. But these glacier explorers weren't trying to capture spooky tunes. They're actually on a mission to monitor the Ross Ice Shelf because things are heating up, literally, and the ice is melting faster than ice cream on a hot day. Ice shelves are like Earth's safety plugs, keeping all that massive ice from surging into the ocean. So what exactly is making all that noise? It's likely just strong winds whipping across ice dunes, creating a kind of natural vibration.
You look bored? Don't worry, so am I. And I'm so tired of scrolling through the same apps every single day. That's why I decided to download BeGo Live. Right now, you can go live yourself or watch thousands of others.
We've all dreamed of visiting the Arctic and witnessing the natural wonders of polar bears frolicking on ice floes or the aurora borealis dancing across the sky. Well, sorry to break it to you, but you won't find any tourists flocking to Antarctica anytime soon. Why, you may ask? Let's dive into it. First off, where is Antarctica? It's located in the southern hemisphere, specifically at the South Pole. The Southern Ocean surrounds it, and most of the continent is covered by ice, making it one of the most remote and frigid places on Earth. Now, have you ever met someone who's visited Antarctica? Probably not. It's one of the least visited places on the planet, and only a handful of lucky explorers have seen its interior. which is mostly made up of glaciers and ice fields. But trust me when I say, the wildlife and scenery are out of this world. Why shouldn't you travel to Antarctica? Well, for starters, the environment is incredibly fragile and can be easily damaged. Plus, there are no native human populations on the continent, so your travels would essentially be like visiting an uninhabited island. And let's not forget that it's also one of the most expensive destinations to travel to. Despite all that, Antarctica is not exactly guarded like a fortress, but there is an international agreement called the Antarctic Treaty. This treaty was negotiated to prevent any unwanted activity on the continent and bans some forms of testing done there by member states. But the primary reason we can't just waltz into Antarctica is that it has a delicate ecosystem that needs protection. The treaty states that Antarctica should be used for peaceful purposes only and should be free from any human activity that could harm the environment. Scientists are still learning about the continent's unique ecosystem, and our activity and machines could disrupt the delicate balance that exists there. If you're still itching to go to Antarctica, getting permission isn't exactly a walk in the park. U.S. citizens, for example, need to complete a special form and send it to the Office of Ocean and Polar Affairs. And once you're there, you'll need to follow some strict guidelines to protect the environment, like not disturbing any wildlife or taking souvenirs, like rocks, plants, or animals. Now, technically, can you live in Antarctica? While there are no laws banning people from living there permanently, it's a very inhospitable environment and unsuitable for human habitation. Temperatures can reach negative 76 degrees Fahrenheit and below, making it nearly impossible for anyone to survive without the proper equipment and experience. Plus, the nearest piece of land is over 1,000 miles away, making any inhabitants completely cut off from the rest of the world. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get the chance to visit this unique and fascinating continent. But until then, let's admire it from afar. Let's now talk a bit about the discovery of Antarctica. Unlike other places that were already inhabited, Antarctica never had a native human population. Ancient Greek philosophers had an idea about the continent and called it Antarctos, meaning opposite the bear. The bears it refers to are not the polar ones, though, but rather the Great and Little Bear constellations, which are only observable in the northern hemisphere. As a result, the term signifies the opposite of the land of the bear. Whaling and sealing voyages in the late 1700s and early 1800s would venture further south when rounding Cape Horn at the tip of South America. It was known that going further south often meant stronger winds, but also the risk of hitting floating ice of all sizes and of winds and seas that could prove dangerous. Captain James Cook was the first to cross the Antarctic Circle on January 17, 1773, in the Ross Sea region. He reached a point further north a year later. Though he didn't sight land, he came to within 50 miles and saw deposits of rock held in icebergs, indicating that a more southerly land existed. The first sighting of Antarctica is widely acknowledged to have taken place in January of 1820, during the voyage of two ships under the command of Captain Fabian Gottlieb von Bellingshausen, as part of a 2-year exploratory expedition around the world to discover new lands. The captain's ships were the first to have crossed the Antarctic Circle since Cook.
Hold up.
The first undisputed landing on Antarctica didn't happen until much later, on January 24, 1895. This is on Earth, but it's also the coldest, the windiest, and the highest. Talk about overachieving. The penguins and scientists down in Antarctica have at times found themselves in a bit of a pickle when it comes to time. You see, unlike the rest of us on this big blue planet, there is no Antarctica time zone. All the lines of longitude meet at a single point at the South Pole, making it a bit of a head-scratcher when trying to figure out what time it is. Now, you might be thinking, but how do the scientists and researchers keep track of time down there? Good question. They typically stick to the time zone of the country they departed from. However, with stations from all over the world on the Antarctic Peninsula, things can get a little wacky. Imagine trying to coordinate with your neighboring countries without accidentally waking them up in the middle of the night. You might think that not much could survive in a place where the temperature is extremely cold, the sun barely shows up, and the wind could blow you away faster than a tumbleweed. Well, as in many places on Earth, life found a way in Antarctica too. Believe it or not, this frozen continent is buzzing with activity. It's home to billions of krill, which in turn attract lots of seals and more penguins than you can shake a fish at. But don't let their cute and cuddly appearance fool you. Penguins are the ultimate swimmers, with streamlined bodies that would make Olympic medal winners jealous. They come ashore to breed and chill, but their real talent is stealing pebbles from each other and forming mathematically precise huddles to stay warm. Antarctica is also home to the largest species of penguin on Earth. It's called the emperor penguin. Sure, these creatures are flightless birds, but that doesn't mean they can't jump. In fact, some of them can leap up to 120 inches. And let's not forget about the seals. With their furry bodies and special songs, these marine mammals are protected by the Antarctic Treaty, and they're thriving in the cool waters of the Southern Ocean too. But the real stars of the show are the whales. During the Antarctic summer, these huge creatures show up in droves to chow down on the abundant krill. It's indeed like a whale buffet down there.
Man, y'all stay blessed and never stressed. Keeping that MoB mind on business, mind off that bullshit.